Welcome to our It's a Marshmallow World mug painting project. Hi, I'm Sam with Pitter Potter Mobile, and today I'm going to show you how to paint the It's a Marshmallow World little hot chocolate mug. This is really fun. It's a great size, so let's get started. You want to start with a paint palette. This one is just a ceramic tile paint palette that I have here, but if you have a foil one, that's perfect too. This is Cottontail White. It's just basic white. It's a beautiful bright white. We're going to start by laying down a coat of white over the inside of the mug. Take your biggest brush, get it a little bit wet, and then we're going to lay down just one even coat everywhere inside the mug. And then you'll see that you have some paper snowflake punches that came in your kit. While the white is still wet inside this cup, we're going to press a snowflake everywhere we want there to be one on the inside of the mug so that the paint acts like a glue. So now that I've got white everywhere inside here, just one nice even coat that's still wet. Now I'm going to start taking my snowflakes and pressing them where I want them to stick. Just push them right into that wet paint, and that paint will hold them there. If your paint starts to dry on you too fast, just add a little bit more. I think I'll put in 5. You can put in 2 or 3 or 7, whatever you like. And you'll see, well, what you'll see is that my paint got dry and stopped being sticky. Hang on one second. There we go. Okay, so you'll see, it's kind of hard to see, but my snowflakes have stuck in place, and that paint, that white paint that we laid down, is just going to hold them right in place. So the next thing we need to do is pull out our 2 shades of blue. We have the light one, which is My Blue Heaven, and we have the darker one, which is Blue Yonder. They're both beautiful sky blues. I'm going to swirl them together, and these are going to be what make up the blue sky color for us. Okay, so we have our snowflakes inside the cup pressed in. I've got 2 shades of blue on my palette. I'm going to start with the Blue Yonder, which is the darker of the 2 shades. And I'm just going to paint right across each snowflake. What I do when I do that is I press them into the cup so that they stay still. Then when I go back to add my lighter shades of blue, it's real easy. So what I've got so far is I just have a really simple coating on top of each one of those snowflakes. I'm not doing anything in particular. All I'm really doing is just pressing those snowflakes down the way that they need to be there. I've got one more snowflake to press into place. So you can see I just have it. They're thin, even coats, but they're not uniform by any means. Now I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm going to start blending the 2 colors on my palette so that I don't want a uniform color. I want a blend. I want a swirl. So now I'm going to start taking that swirled color and muddling it inside the mug so that I have lighter and darker swirls in here. It gives a beautiful sense of movement, like the wind is blowing and whipping the snowflakes around in the sky, so it just makes for a really pretty effect. You do want a good medium thick coating here, so just keep working it until it all kind of swirls together. I'm using the biggest brush I could find. I wanted just maximum coverage inside here, so that's what I've got. And so you can see it's just completely muddled in there. In some places you can see the where the snowflake papers are. In some places they've completely disappeared, but as the paint starts to dry, that paper will take longer to dry and they'll show back up, they'll pop up. When they become visible again, that's when you need to go ahead and remove those paper punch outs. We'll take them out and then we'll have perfect white impressions of where the snowflake punches were, and that's what we'll decorate as our snowflakes next. So now my paint is starting to dry. You can tell because it stopped shining quite so much. I do still have a couple of shiny places, but I think I'm in a good place to go ahead and pull off my snowflakes. Now you can use a toothpick, your fingernail, anything that is just a little bit, not sharp, but firm, so that that paper will peel up underneath. That's what we want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling off my snowflakes and show you the beautiful white snowflakes that they reveal. This can be a little bit delicate work, so do take your time. You'll be glad you did. So I've only got 3 of them off so far, but you can see how much brighter they come back when you do. Just pull off the rest of those. And then we'll do the exact same thing to the outside of the mug. You can see that I've laid down another layer of cottontail white around the outside of the mug and stuck down a few more of these snowflake paper punches. I've even put one underneath there. I like a little fun when you lift up your cup to drink out of it. What I'm going to do next is muddle the My Blue Heaven and Blue Yonder together on one palette. I want to take a big brush. I prefer fan brushes, but just whatever the biggest brush you can find, and start swirling those. We do not want a uniform blend here, just a nice pretty swirl. And I'm going to take the mug in my hand and just start applying that color almost willy-nilly across the mug. That blue shouldn't get underneath those white paper punches, but if it does, you can take something and just wipe it back off. We'll find out though after we pull them back off. I'm just working with my swirl here. You can see on the brush that it's really not well blended, and that is the idea. Just gonna let it work its way around. We're going for a windy, blustery, snowy day, so that's the look we're gonna get. Now, if your brush gets too dry, dip it in a little water. That helps the paint go further, and it also makes for a much smoother application. I'm just gonna keep it moving along. You want nice, long, fluid strokes. Getting the underside of that handle there. And then I just want to re-wet my brush and kind of smooth out a few of these lines. I do want them to blend all the way through, so I don't want ends of brush strokes really showing. Add a little more paint to this handle. And then we'll let this dry. We'll let it dry just enough that we can peel the snowflakes off to reveal the white snowflakes underneath. And then we'll be ready to wipe the rim and apply the Marshmallow World design over the top of our background. Now I've got the outside of my mug painted, but I want to go back and take an artist's sponge, just a clean, damp sponge, and wipe the rim. That's going to make a nice, pretty edge on top. Just until it comes back to white. Makes for a smooth line. And it just neatens everything right up. Here I have a snowflake puller. It's we call it a scraping tool sometimes, but you can use tweezers or your fingernail, anything that is a little bit firm and maybe has a little hook end on it. Anything that you can find will work. I'm going to just peel back these snowflakes now that my paint is basically dry. The paper takes a little longer to get fully dry, so there's a sweet spot of time there where you have a really good opportunity to pull these snowflakes back, that they stay, that they're both visible and they will come off easily. So once that paint is past being wet, but your snowflake papers are still a little damp, that's the perfect time to pull these off. And you can see that one came out really well. I'm very happy with that one. I'm just going to keep going around the mug. Just start pulling that paper inward toward the center. Snowflakes are somewhat tricky because they have those long, thin tendrils, and they can be a little bit delicate, but just pull gently toward the center and they should come off for you. Now remember, if you get any blue underneath there, that's okay. We can clean that up afterward. This one came out pretty good too. I'm happy with this one. And this really is the perfect time because the paper is still visible. If you wait until the mug is completely dry to do this, sometimes the paper punches will become invisible or very, very difficult to find. If that happens, just take a little water on a paintbrush and brush the mug back so that it's damp again, and those papers will show back up for you. There we go. Now take that artist's sponge, and anywhere that you have a little blue that's seeped under, just wipe it back. Again, just wipe it back and it comes right back to white. We have already let our cup dry with the coats on the background. We've peeled the paper up off of the snowflake punches. Now we get to draw our design on our piece. Going to use just a standard number 2 school pencil here. Will not use the eraser. You don't want to use the eraser because that can actually peel the paint away. But I'll show you how to change up our marks if we need to as we go. The first thing I want to do is design my my little picture. So I want to draw a little mug of hot cocoa. I know I want it to say it's a marshmallow world. I'm just gonna draw a good sized mug. I always start with the top of the mug and then just gonna bring that down, make it a good sized healthy mug. I'm gonna draw right over that snowflake like it's not even there. The little handle of my mug, and I'll bring this closer to the camera so you can see in just a second. All right, so this is my design so far. I've just drawn a little hot chocolate mug. I know that I'm going to paint that in. I will probably do a red mug with brown hot chocolate up here inside, and then I'll do some little marshmallows on the top. And so I want to show you where I have made a mark that I didn't like. I just ignored it, and then I drew another mark. And so when I get ready to paint, I'll just follow along the lines that I like, and that will be what I do. The pencil does evaporate in the heat of the kiln completely. I'm gonna write marshmallow as big as I can. It's a marshmallow world. I'm gonna use cursive, but you use whatever style you like. Marshmallow, I don't know if you know this or not, is one of the most commonly misspelled words out there. Marshmallow. It's a marshmallow world. And I'm just gonna put bits right up here. Marshmallow world. So I've got, it's a marshmallow world, and then I'll have my little cup of hot cocoa right here. I'll probably decorate my mug too, so I'll go ahead and draw a stripe in it, and I may put some kind of dots or something in the stripe. Go ahead and give it a nice lip. And I know that I want the mug in the picture of the mug to jump forward. So because I want that to be in front of the word marshmallow, I'll go ahead and paint on the words first, then I'll let those dry and I'll paint the mug last. So let me grab my tuxedo black and we will get started with the wording. Okay, so now I just want to take my little liner brush, just a really fine liner brush, and I'll follow along my pencil marks with the black. You can of course use whatever color you like. I like the black because it is a really fluid formula. The formula they use to make the black is really, really even and glossy and smooth. now that I have my wording written down, and I have actually already signed the bottom too, I'm ready to go ahead and color in my mug. So I'm going to take a medium round brush, something with a good size to it, and I will just take some candy apple red. I'll get my brush a little bit wet. Get some candy apple red and just fill in the body of that mug. I don't want to get inside it because I have plans for that. I will actually paint that with the Java Bean Brown to be my hot chocolate. But I just want to paint the outside of the mug. If you have a hard time painting a smooth straight line here, don't worry about that, because after we're finished painting the mug and the design, we'll go back with that black again and outline everything. And that'll help clean up the edges quite a bit. So I'm just going to give one solid coat here for the red. We'll let that dry and then go back and give it a second and a third coat as well, especially because I went over my snowflake here. I want to be sure that I get really good even coverage. So I'm going to use 3 good coats on this red mug to make sure that it comes out looking nice and pretty. Nice and pretty and vibrant. I'll get that handle too while I'm here. And I have a little bit of texture that I have to paint over there because that snowflake is lower down than the blue part of the mug. But there we go. That's 1 coat, so I will just let that dry nice and well. I don't want it to shine anymore. Once it stops shining, it'll be ready for a 2nd coat. While I'm waiting, I'll grab another brush, medium-sized, small to medium-sized, and paint in the hot chocolate. I have in mind to do some mini marshmallows inside the mug, and if I do that, then those will just be little white dots after the fact. So I'm just going to paint right in there. I'll get right up to the red line. With my hot chocolate. And this will take a couple of coats too, just to make sure it's nice and solid. Now I want to go back over the outside here and give myself another little red rim to be the inside, the bit of the mug that you can see on the inside. So I'm just going to take a really light touch and just painting with the tip of the brush, just the tippy tip. I'm going to just paint a little red rim right around it. And of course we'll go back and give ourselves 3 coats on here. And then we'll outline everything with the black so it looks nice and neat when we're finished. Kind of fine detail work right there. But so that is the first coat on our mug. We'll go back, let this dry, go back and paint it a 2nd time and then a 3rd time, and then we'll outline it in black with just 1 coat of black. And then we can go and decorate it. We can put the marshmallows in it and the any kind of decorations on top of the red mug that we want to do. We're ready now to outline the mug with black. I have laid down 3 coats of red and 3 coats of Java Bean Brown. They've dried, they're no longer shiny, so I'm going to take that black liner detail brush that I used to do the wording and put it back in the black. And I'm just going to use the smallest, lightest lines to outline the mug. This is going to serve 2 purposes. It will, of course, neaten up any lines that weren't quite perfect, but it will also help the eye to understand what it's looking at. And I'll show you what I mean by that as we go along. So we're just going to do quick outlining lines along the mug. And then we'll go back and we'll do some detailing as well. You just want to get around all of the edges as best you can. And then we'll come up here and do the rim work as well. And this is the part that I'm talking about right here. We're going to add a rim, an extra lip to the front side of this mug so that you can tell that it's there. Now we get to decorate. So I have a couple of different tools that I use. I'll be using my cottontail white and then my silver lining for the details. The white, of course, will be for the marshmallows. And for those, I'm just going to use the back end of a rounded tipped paintbrush, dip it right into the white there, and I'm going to put these along the top of the hot cocoa. Now, you wouldn't think that white would stand up very well on top of the brown, and sometimes it doesn't, so we have to be really careful. We go back a couple of coats, make sure it just has really good vibrancy so it doesn't melt into the brown as it bakes. So we have some marshmallows going there. I'll come back and give them a second coat in just a minute, and I think I will take the back end of this brush and do some silver dots. Maybe, but you know what, that might be too many dots. Upon further reflection, I think what I'll do is actually get myself another fine detailer and draw some silver snowflakes on this mug. I think that's what I want to do instead. Since this is a snowflake themed mug, I'll just do some snowflakes on here. And that will look right pretty. So we'll just give it some detail work there. You can do whatever you want to do on your mug. You just decorate it how you think it looks good. And again, I'm using the silver lining for this. Every time you put one color on top of another one, go back and give yourself a couple of coats just to make sure that it stands up real well. So once I let this detail work dry, then we will go back and give ourselves another coat. But I've got marshmallows in my hot chocolate and snowflakes on my mug. We're going to let that dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, well, now that our detail lines are drying, I want to go back in and just add a couple more details to the inside of the mug here. I've got my snowflakes peeled away and revealed on the inside, but I think I'd like to go back and add some silver dots as well. So I'm just going to take the back end of my brush and put it into my silver and just dot inside here just to give it a little more detail. This is where you get to get creative and add whatever details that you like to make your mug your own. I'm just going to go back and do these. And then the mug will be ready to go in the oven. Here it is. I'm so excited. It's beautiful. Look at those pretty snowflakes. We've got a lovely little mug full of marshmallows there. And check out the inside. That is some kiln magic. I love how everything comes out so glossy and smooth and shiny. So pretty. I hope you had fun painting with me today, and I'll see you again next time.